trying to reduce glare on one's glasses with a camera on a phone is next to impossible. And I can't see without them. So Labor Day weekend in a hospital in Florida, and it was a lovely hospital, really. Big and newer, and but man, those rooms get used because everything is like, seriously, like the little rolly table. You know, a little thing that comes in over your bed, though it didn't come over very well. It was really hard to try to eat anything in that bed. And I spilled something on my blanket. Excuse me. My allergies have gone into full swing, okay? And I really am wondering if that's what happened on Saturday night. Let me tell you about it. So I messaged Maggie. I said, would you like me from 4 to 9? Would that be okay? Because I'd not been feeling well. For 2 weeks prior to that Saturday, I'd been having a lot of fluttering in my heart, kind of heaviness, a lot of congestion. And you know, I wasn't putting 2 and 2 together. But let me tell you about my experience. So I get over there about 4 o'clock, and I start watching a movie because Michael and Maggie are basically playing with Finn at that point in time. And Michael takes Finn out to the pool that they have in the back. It's an above ground. And so at about 6:15, 6 o'clock, I guess, Michael comes in soaking wet, and he says, can you take my place, Mom? I need to get ready for the show. They do Whatnot auctions. And I said, yeah, absolutely. So, though I was a little hesitant, I'm like, it's warm out there. I don't do well in the heat. But I had just drank 2 bottles of water. I had my other bottle with me. I was trying to drink more water because I'm wondering what this fluttering in my heart is, right? So before that, I start quitting everything, right? I had already gotten, months ago, I quit meloxicam. And I've been concentrating on diet, exercise, supplements to try to relieve my back and hip issues. And I can say that I haven't had to use in the last week or so anything for pain, which isn't easy because when I walk on that right leg, that hip, it hurts. It hurts deeply because I have a lot of issues in the socket. So I go outside, and Michael sets up a chair in the shade, and I got my water bottle, I got my phone. You need anything, Mom, call, okay? Because they're right in the house. I'm in the backyard. So I use my phone, I call them. If I need anything, they'll bring it. So I'm sitting in the chair, and I'm saying, it's a really nice afternoon, you know, it's breezy, it's not humid, not too humid, you know, and temperature's okay, and I'm watching Finn play, and Finn has a very explorative mind, and so he has this great big water gun. It has like a little clear window, and you can see the water in it. So he decides to take his little remote control submarine and get it into the gun with the water. I'm like, how did you do that? And he said, here, Aya, hold this. I'm gonna, remote control it. So I'm holding the gun, and I'm standing there next to the pool because I can't get in because I can't use that ladder. My hip's too bad, and in this case, I'm really glad I couldn't get in, to be honest. I'm holding the gun, and he's, operating. I says, it's not doing much, Finn. There's no room for it to really go back and forth and up and down. And And then all of a sudden, it hits me. And I'm like, what the, you know what? I said, Finn, here, take this. I is sick. I don't feel well. And I go and I sit down because the chair isn't very far. And I look up into the, and before me, and it's like the sky, the leaves, the atmosphere is imploding before my face. This was bizarre. No, I hadn't been on marijuana for a week, and excuse me, but I take 2 milligrams at night to sleep, or I did. But when these heart flutters started, I said, I'm going to quit the marijuana and see if it'll go away. Well, it didn't. I had quit everything at this point. I wasn't even taking Flexeril because I wanted to see. I'm thinking, do I have a heart problem? Well, it was as if there was a huge band from my chest to my belly button squeezing me, and I'm like, I'm gonna collapse right here in front of Finn. And I grabbed my phone and I hit my button and I said, Maggie, you gotta get out here. Something's wrong with me. And the boys come running out. Maggie's behind them. Mom, what's happening? Because I'd had an episode the night before. And I said to Denny, I do not feel good. I am not well enough to take one of the cars and drive home. And he said, please go to the hospital. And I said, I just want to go home and go to bed. And on the way home, he was telling me about his friend who was having symptoms. And she kept saying, after Christmas, I'll go to the hospital. And she died on Christmas Day. I said, trust me, Denny. I promise you, I will call for an ambulance if I feel any worse. I just want to lay down. And that was Friday night. And then Saturday, I don't know, I'd been feeling fluttering and symptoms, like I said, 2 weeks previous. Noticed some congestion, kept coughing up, mucus that was not clear. It was thick, it was yellow, it was, in blobs. Sorry to be graphic. But I didn't think anything of it because this is Florida and there is always something pollinating. And I've always had seasonal allergies, sinus problems, infections. I mean, last year's infections in the beginning of January, February, I was on antibiotics for a month. I had these most horrendous breathing problems, Couldn't breathe. So, Dennis Jr., so I'm sitting in my chair in the backyard, Michael's trying to talk to me, and I'm like, I'm out of it. I could barely talk. I'm trying to concentrate on keeping my breath. So Denny Jr. takes his key and he backs right up in the backyard. I said, no, he can't go with the grass. He's going to break something. He says he'll stay on the sidewalk, but he didn't. And then the two of them had to help me get up and get into the car. And then when he got me to the emergency room, Dennis Jr., he went and got a nurse, and the nurse took the wheelchair and came out to me. And I was in bad shape. Bad shape. She helped me into the wheelchair, got me inside, hooked me up. First she weighed me. And hey, I was 196. I don't know if that was accurate, but I'm really hoping so. I'm like, that's excellent when I saw it later, wasn't at the time. What was that just ran through? Never mind. I'm looking out my window, but you just got a video of my window. Car so full of crap. So, my blood pressure was 188 over 120 something, and I said, is that my blood pressure? I couldn't even see straight, okay? This is how bad it was. I had my glasses on, but I couldn't see the monitor. I saw the 188, and I'm like, what's the bottom number? 120, what? And she said, don't be looking at that. And she turns the monitor away, so I didn't get to see my oxygen either. She starts asking me questions, and I'm like, like, I'm like, why are you asking me questions? Do something. I get into a room, and I'm not doing good. First thing they do is take blood work, of course. Put the needles in. Oh, look at my arms. You want to see what they did to me? I told the nurse. And whatever breath I had left, I kept saying, wrong arm, wrong arm. Wrong arm. I have very tiny veins, okay? And my left arm is the worst arm to try to put a needle in. So this is the right arm, and still I'm a little raw in places because I don't do well with needles and IVs. Yeah, so they took blood, they did a chest x-ray. Chest x-ray was excellent. The lungs look fantastic. There's no blockages. There's no blood clots. Everything's looking good. So doctor comes in, what's going on, Nikki? And I tell her, and I said, this has never, ever happened to me in my entire life. Well, at first with a male doctor. And I told him how it feels like a band is squeezing. He says, does it hurt? I said, it doesn't hurt. It's just very uncomfortable. It's restricting my breathing. Now I'm inside the building, and the symptoms are letting up a bit, but my heart is pounding, and flutters. And I said, it feels like that movie Alien, and something's about to burst out of my chest. And he asked about my family history, and he didn't like the band thing. He said, you know what? I'm admitting you. He said, I can only see so much with the tests we can do down here. I want more tests. Sure. So then later, a female doctor, a DO, replaces him. I think that was in the morning, the next day. A night in a Florida ER was hell. I got about 2 hours of in and out sleep, okay? And I need my sleep. I don't do well. 4:30 in the morning, I wake up and my body is aching and my chest is still, acting up, but the band thing is gone. And I'm like, I'm going home. And I said, I will go to the bathroom. I have to get them to unhook me. Oh my God. I am going to right to that hospital because they need to do something different. I can't adjust my own gurney, the little hospital bed. And oh my God, was it uncomfortable. I felt like I was rolling off one end, okay? And they're narrow, all right? Worse than like my car camp bed. And every time I want the back of the bed up, I have to get the nurse. I want it down, I gotta get the nurse. And I'm very uncomfortable, so I'm like, I wanna go up, I wanna go down, I wanna go up, I wanna go down. And I have to pee. I have to pee a lot, okay? I'd been drinking a lot of water that day. So I'm all hooked up to everything, and I have to call the nurse. Would you please unhook me? I need to go to the bathroom. And I have to walk to the bathroom. And I'm not doing good. So I'm hanging on to the little side rails, and I'm trying to get to the bathroom. I come back at 4:30 in the morning after peeing for the last time, and only getting a couple of hours in and out sleep because they're talking loudly. There's people moaning and yelling, and the psych ward of ER is just down the hall from me. I had my own private room, though, at the ER. And so, I said to the tech, I'm going home. He says, you got to call your son. It's 4:30 in the morning. They work third shift. I'm not calling him, but I went on to Messenger to see if they were there. And they had last been on 20 minutes previous. So I knew they were sleeping. I'm not going to call them. I said, I'll just go over to the house, unlock the door, grab my purse and my keys, and get a lift. Get a lift there, get a lift home. Well, they had my purse. Dennis Jr. had my purse, so it was already locked in the house, and I had no keys. I wasn't going anywhere, so I stayed. And after a while, I'm like, all right, I'll stay. Let them do the stress test, whatever else they want to do, right? But because all my blood work was so clean and so perfect, and my chest x-ray was really good, they did admit me. So I spent 6:30 the evening before, Saturday evening, and it wasn't until Sunday at 11 that they finally wheeled me out of that godforsaken ER and upstairs to my own room. And thank God, up there, you can adjust your own bed. But of course, they had to hook me up to everything. At first, I wasn't. I was able to go in the bathroom and out the bathroom and walk around if I wanted to. And I was feeling better, but my chest was uncomfortable. Would you like a breathing treatment? Yes. So they gave me that. But my heart was still pounding, and I still was having a hard time breathing in. And she said, what does it feel like? I said, have you ever lived in a cold climate? I'm from Minnesota. Good. Do you know what it feels like to breathe in 5-degree air outside, 5 degrees? Yep. It feels like that. Okay. So she asked my family history. My father died at 48 from an aneurysm in the brain. His father died at 50 from a massive heart attack. My mother died from congestive heart failure, but she made it to 77. She says, I want to do a stress test. But then the cardiologist came the next day and he said, your heart is great, because they did a CT scan. He said, you don't have a cardiac issue, in my opinion. But the DO insisted on the ultrasound as the last test before they would send me home. And I had to wait till the next day for that. They had me on the monitor. Heartbeat was perfect. It didn't feel perfect. It felt like it was skipping beats. It felt like it was stopping. It felt like it was thumping and pounding and fluttering. And I'm like, it didn't hurt. It was just annoying, uncomfortable, irritating. I wanted it to stop. And on Monday, it felt a little better. As a matter of fact, I actually had moments where it wasn't doing that at all. I'd been in a lovely air-conditioned room, my own room. And as I was telling my story, it started to hit me. Where am I at here? Okay, it's not my heart. though I hadn't seen if it was my valves, and that terrified me because I do not want any artificial replacements, okay? I read about what goes on with valve replacement and anticoagulants and weekly blood tests, and I'm like, this can't be happening to me. Well, ultrasound came back. Well, she's doing the ultrasound, and I'm asking, they're not supposed to answer you, but she was rushing, so she didn't know the rules. And I said, what's going on? She said, beautiful heartbeat, nice and strong. She says, if there's a little leak, it's tiny, tiny, maybe just little droplets, and that's normal with everybody. Okay? I don't see no indications of an artery being blocked, because it wouldn't be doing this and doing that. And she's showing me on the screen the things that it does when it's healthy. And it looked really good. Valves looked great. And then she took her little wand and she was pressing into all these areas and taking pictures. She said, you don't have a valve problem. Though she wasn't supposed to tell me that. She says, everything looks good, really good. I'm like, wow, at least I know. And then the nurse was talking to me, Nick, God bless him. And I really liked him. He was a great nurse. And he said, this was like a tune-up, Nikki. And he said, your kidneys, perfect. Your liver, perfect. There was no blockages. There was no anything. And I said, healthy as a horse. He says, well, not all horses are healthy. Okay. And, yeah. So I start thinking, I said, Nick, could it have been a respiratory event? I said, I can't figure out. I said, because, it didn't happen till I was sitting outside for 10 minutes and the breeze was blowing right at me. And I had been looking on my phone trying to figure out what happened to me because I want answers. Well, ragweed was at medium, and me and ragweed, we don't do good together. Never. I'm the same way with goldenrod, but ragweed kills me. So I'm going to call my doctor today, my PCP, and I'm going to make an appointment, and I'm going to talk to her about this event. They released me, of course, and then Denny took me on a wonderful little hiatus because I felt like born to be alive. So I wanted to go do things, I'm like, I'm out of the hospital. I'm exhausted. Let's go out to lunch. So he took me out to lunch. And then he took me home because HelloFresh had come from Maggie and had been sitting a long time. He said, I got to get that stuff in the fridge. So we did that. And then he said, let's go to Starbucks. Yeah. So we went to Starbucks and I was going to get, the low-fat latte. I had just had the salad plate at the restaurant and I only ate the cottage cheese, fruit, and lettuce. And I was like, I want dessert, but I was too stuffed. And it had a little fruit with it. It was really nice little plate. But it had this big lump of a fake crab salad. It was very salty, and I wouldn't eat that. So even though my heart is good, I'm eating healthy, okay? So we go to Starbucks, and he orders this pumpkin spice latte. Ooh, and it was hot latte. And an apple croissant. I'm looking at the picture, and I'm like, I want one of those. I said, order 2 of those. I'm having one. And then I said, and I want a cold pumpkin latte. Well, I only drank about 1/3 of the latte. And they're outrageously expensive. And I woofed that croissant. Oh, man. I have got to learn how to do that, okay? Because now I couldn't really, I could kind of taste it. Lately, either I'm imagining I can taste or I have seconds to moments that I can taste and smell. I want to learn how to make those. I would love those for Thanksgiving as a little side dish. Oh, they were so delightful. Oh, the texture of that croissant. Anyway. And the way it was all rolled up into a little muffin. How did they do that? I've got to figure that one out. Anyway, okay, so then I said, oh, let's go to Home Goods. He says, I don't like Home Goods. I says, let's not go to Home Goods. And I'm looking around, there's Marshall's, and we've boycotted Target, and there's Ross. And I'm like, that's not really where I want to go, but I want to go somewhere. And then it hits me. Do you like Hobby Lobby? I say, Denny. He said, yeah, I do like Hobby Lobby. Oh, let's go there. And we're having a time, but he says, do you want to go in the wheelchair, Mom? And I said, Denny, I really think I should walk around and exercise. Major mistake, but I did it anyway. Thank God that they sell furniture, because I'm like, I've got to go find a chair. So I'm resting my hip, I didn't have my seat cane. I only had my regular cane because I was going, just up one here. And that was from the hospital. I had it with me in the hospital. Excuse me. I feel like there's a lump of congestion and I can't get it up. So, back to so we're shopping and we're having a really good time, and my heart has stopped pounding and stopped fluttering, but as soon as I go outside, it starts up. So I'm pretty darn sure I had some sort of a respiratory event. It must have been a heckload of pollen must have been in that air and hit me. I also was under that big old tree, and I don't know what kind of tree that is. Is it oak? Is it elm? I'm not sure. But, yeah. So I have got to, number one, take my loratadine, number one. Number two, keep my inhaler in my purse at all times. I'm going to ask for a second inhaler. I think I have a thing on the fridge, but they don't, Cigna with Medicare does not cover my medicines well anymore. And a lot of money's coming out of my pocket for meds. And oh my God, the hospital gives me this list a mile long. We want you to take blah, 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 blah. I said to Nick, it ain't happening, hun. I'm off all my meds, and I do not plan to add anything new except for the allergy meds. That I know I better start taking, because I never want to go through anything like that again. So I know now that my heart, my kidney, my liver is in excellent condition. For 65, I feel good about that. My spine is in deplorable condition, and I clearly have some sort of a respiratory condition. But I'm going to work on those things, indeed. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And even though it was nice to have that rest, I got to tell you, after that respiratory event, when Denny said to me, I said, no, Denny, I'm in the right place here, because if I were home, I don't think I could take care of myself. I can't stand very long before I can't breathe. And I said, it's good that I'm here and I'm being taken care of. And so I'm very, very grateful for the hospital I went to. I was so grateful for the good people there that really cared to know, is she all right? And I'm going to continue on my diet now, even though I had my little fling with the croissant and the latte. Those things don't make me crazy like chocolate does and cake. So it's a good thing it was just a croissant, because I feel ready to start the day and to do even better on my food plan and to eat as healthy as humanly possible and lose more weight and try to get this hip, which is not doing great. But you know what? I'm off of all pain meds. Yes, all pain meds. That is a major plus. That is better. That is my story. Sticking to it, carrying on, getting better. Indeed. Bye.